Give me a second, guys. I'm going to check my stream, just make sure I'm all good, because I think I heard a bit of a buzzing sound. I'm not liking that. Give me a second, guys. Just check it. Okay, we're all good. It's okay. Everything's okay.
It's 5 to 5 here in Monza, Friday evenings, time for the rush hour to start, and if you're in a rush, there's really no better place to be rushing around. Welcome along to round 16 of the Formula One World Championship in 2025, the 75th anniversary of this Formula One World Championship and the 75th Formula One World Championship Italian Grand Prix to take place at the Temple of Speed. Top speed in the region of 230 miles an hour, a 3.6 mile track. The race should be run in around about an hour and 15 minutes over the 53 laps on Sunday. Qualifying is really important here. 15 out of the last 25 sessions have gone. The pole position has been taken and won from, but in the last 5 years, pole hasn't actually won here. So make of that what you will. Ty compound C5, C4, C3. We've gone very, very soft, and we've gone very, very sunny as well. The mountains off in the distance providing a beautiful backdrop. The sun bathing the circuit here, and the track temperature 40 degrees, the air temperature 26 degrees. It is still very, very warm. And talking of warm, what a hot pace Ferrari were setting in FP1. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, first and second fastest. First time Ferrari have been 1 and 2 in a practice session in FP1 since Austin last season. And Austin last season, of course, Ferrari went on to have a 1-2 finish. Is that an omen? If it is, they're going to have to do it the hard way, with Lewis Hamilton taking a 5-place grid penalty into the race this weekend, making his life that little more difficult on what is a very special occasion for the man who, as a boy, dreamed of being a Ferrari driver and racing in red, and coming here to the Italian Grand Prix to emulate his hero, Michael Schumacher. Hamilton with 7 poles here, more than any other driver, and 5 wins, along with Michael Schumacher. The Tifosi are very fond of Charles Leclerc. Jamie Chadwick, there are a lot of red 44 shirts out there as well. Lewis has the popularity stakes absolutely nailed coming into this weekend.
He does, and it's funny because so many years he must have come here and seen all the fans in red and maybe one day dreamed that they're cheering for him, and it's amazing to see how much they've embraced Lewis. Seeing him go out onto the pit wall earlier, Charles as well, obviously a huge reception for them both, so incredible to see.
And there is Lewis Hamilton's car. Ferrari going for like a Niki Lauda tribute for this weekend. I think that car looks absolutely splendid. In the Drivers' Championship, Hamilton down in 6th at the moment, 109 points. That's the lowest total he's ever had at this stage of a season. Oscar Piastri out in front, 34 points clear of his teammate Lando Norris. We didn't see Piastri in FP1. We also didn't see Franco Colapinto. Both are back after missing that session. Karun Chandhok has also made it over from the paddock. We're squeezed into the Sky commentary box here, and a little bit like a Coldplay meme. Oh no, Karun, no, they have to move away, to be honest, like that. Welcome, sir. What a day to be alive here in Monza.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, I love it. Just wandering around here, it's got heart, it's got soul, it's just a beautiful place to come motor racing. And you know, as you're saying, it's lovely to see Ferrari celebrating 50 years since the great Niki Lauda won his first World Championship here. And I think that's what this place is about, right? It's, you sense the history. You think of the drivers who've driven here, you look at the banking, it's just, yeah, it's a bit rough around the edges. There's bits of it that aren't quite as shiny as some of the modern tracks. But that doesn't matter. It's a great place to be.
It certainly is. Is Leo a super dog? I don't know. I'm not an expert in these things. A sausage dog, Dachshund? What is it?
It's I think a long-haired Dachshund.
A long-haired Dachshund.
Very sweet long-haired Dachshund.
He was definitely trying to get a bite of the little tomato burrata salad I had at lunchtime. He was loitering near the Skypad earlier.
He's a brave little puppy who's trying that one, try and eat your lunch. Right, Oscar Piastri, who I said missed FP1, Alex Dunn standing in for him. He's so keen to get out. He is already waiting at the end of the pit lane. Ollie Behrman's going to be coming out soon. Ted Kravitz, who else is making their way out of the garage?
Lots of people. Hang on, Karun, were you eating your burrata salad on the floor? How did Leo get up to where you were eating your burrata salad?
I was sitting on, I think, the lid of a bin, basically, that is by the skylight. You really want to know.
That's rubbish.
Yes,
How
literally.
Did Alexandra lift Leo so he could have a nibble of your burrata?
No, he just didn't have, he could smell it, but he, don't worry, said he did not have any of my lunch. I kept it safe, but he had allergic to it. You never know what he might be allergic to.
He's so cute. Well, that's true. You have to care about him. He is so cute. Right, Crofty. Italy, pizza, pasta, parmesan, parma ham, pecorino, and piastri. Well done. Not pasty. He's not Cornish. He's from Melbourne, Australia. Actually, with Italian heritage, going back to the Tuscan era a couple of generations ago. But there's no mistaking how keen he is to get out on track. No mistake, no surprise to me to see Oscar Piastri first out on track in this session. Watched free practice one from the McLaren office upstairs, listening to Alex Dunn's feedback and monitoring everything on the car. But he knows that this is as crucial a weekend as all the other ones because he has to press home his advantage, take advantage of Lando Norris's bad luck with that broken engine oil line that he suffered from in Zandvoort and go for the win again. Try to knock it. He doesn't want to take it to Abu Dhabi. He does he, Oscar Piastri? He wants to wrap it up as early as possible. They all do. That's the point of trying to be world champion. And I sensed that yesterday, and I'm interested to see. Curious to see how he's going to approach the rest of the weekend, having missed out on the first session.
And he does have experience, Oscar Piastri, of having a large lead in a championship slowly whittled down to no advantage whatsoever going into the final race of the season. Remember back to that F3 championship in 2020, battling away with Logan Sargent. They were neck and neck going into the final race. So he's got experience of how it's all gone wrong to go right in the end. And I think that will really pay dividends in the next few races.
Absolutely. And you want to take away that buffer that means that if you have something that happens outside of your control, as we saw with Lando in Zandvoort, in the F3 season, Logan actually got taken out, which took it out of his control. It's 25 points that can swing one way or the other. At the moment, the points difference is more than that. So it gives a bit of comfort to Oscar to know that he's got that points gap in hand, but there's so long to go in the season. I think if I was in that position, I wouldn't even be thinking about the championship, apart from the fact that everyone wants to talk about it. But them, I think they just put it out of their mind, they perform like they need to, and yeah, try and not worry too much about those points differences.
There's something like 247 points still to be played for in the Drivers' Championship. There's a long way to go, yes. Right, on track, Charles Leclerc. I mentioned the time. We're just after 5 o'clock on a Friday evening here. So you can see how the sun is starting to sink a little lower in the sky with just the light reflecting off the cars. I don't know if that is a hindrance to the drivers or not as they come through the trees.
It's a problem here, actually, as they come up that hill we're looking up Parabolica. But it's when you come up to Ascari, and you're coming underneath the banking towards the entrance to Ascari chicane. It's in your eye, and it's you go through the trees and the shadows, and suddenly you're into this sunlight straight into your eye as you're trying to brake from, guess what, 210 mile an hour into the Ascari chicane.
It's the sort of thing you're very used to, Jamie Chadwick, I'm sure. You know, slightly longer races than you take part in.
Honestly, it's a thing that you don't think about, but visibility is huge. Endurance racing, when you have the sun coming up or down, it can actually be one of the most irritating things because you're staring directly at sunlight. So we go on board with Lando Norris for an early lap here.
Yeah, and unlike you, of course, he can't bring the sun visor down in his car, you know, the cup holders, the supersized cup that you have in your sports cars and that. But making his way through the chicane, onwards he goes, through the curve of Grande. Now this next chicane.
My right mirror is cracked. Copy. Are you okay to continue? Yeah.
Is that good luck or bad luck?
Who gets the bad luck? He or the mechanic who put it on?
It's 7 years of bad luck, isn't it?
Well, exactly.
Oh, dear.
That's definitely what he does not want, is any form of bad luck, as James used to say between now and the end of the year.
We'll contemplate bad luck for somebody, or just hope it gets fixed and there's no bad luck whatsoever. Lando Norris has just gone through that Ascari chicane. I tell you who has got the luckiest job today, wandering around the track, Martin Brundle, and he's at Ascari now. Good afternoon, mate.
Hello everybody. Yes,
I'm just watching these cars and drivers kind of reduce this to a minor annoyance, such as the speed they're carrying through here. Except every so often, the car tries to bite them, and they scamper through the gravel, and the dust is still hanging in the air from the Toro Rosso that came through here. And yeah, I mean, they literally just arrived. The Raikkonen, and I'm just waiting for the cheer. Here goes the crowd behind me as Lewis Hamilton then comes through in that glorious new livery that really jumps out of the racetrack out here when you're trackside. But every time the Ferraris come through for the first time, the crowd in this Ascari chicane area have been on their feet and cheering for their heroes, which is absolutely lovely. But yes, they come out over the blind prow there, as we see the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll going very slowly, and they just sweep in. They ride the curve on the inside nicely, but they've got to be so precise while they're doing it. We've got a lot of cars coming our way here, as we see Fernando's. It looks like they're basically just preparing their lap. Fast approaching us now is George Russell. Look at the speed he takes in there, and the direction change. He's up shifting in the middle. Here's Piastri too, in the ever-dominant McLaren. Just dipped a tyre right very close to the gravel, and they're upshifting in the middle of the corner. They're powering on. It's a corner that used to terrify us, but they're carrying so much speed. Lewis Hamilton then for Ferrari misses the curb on the inside. Clearly doesn't want to ride that curb. Thinks he's better spending an extra metre or two just going around it rather than unsettling the car on the way in. But it's high speed. Remember, they got low downforce here for the low drag, and they just touch the curb on the way through, pick the throttle up, thread the eye of the needle, and then I'm sure they're hanging on through the end of the corner. It's just really wonderful to see the latest Formula One cars almost, as I say, reducing this to a straight line, really, until it goes horribly wrong. Back to you.
Thanks ever so much indeed, Martin. Great to have you at trackside with us. We're on board with Fernando Alonso. We've just been on board with Lando Norris. McLaren taking it to the extreme, their ability to ensure parity across both drivers. We know that Piastri's mirror is cracked. Lando has now lost his right mirror, so he's asking for updates on traffic, please. But I mean, that is keeping things equal. That really is.
To the extreme level. We just got a good illustration of what the slipstream benefit is, Crofty. You see Fernando Alonso pop up into second place, still on medium tyre. So Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton came across the line. Lewis had nobody in front of him. Leclerc had Lewis in front of him, a couple of seconds up the road, and is a 6k speed difference across the timing line. So that just gives you a little bit of an indication. As Pierre Gasly. Whoa.
Not going to get a slipstream out there.
Way too hot, wasn't it?
Too hot, but we've seen that a few times. We've seen a few snaps going into that Ascari chicane. I think that's where you're going in, and it's, as exactly Martin said, so quick on the entry into there now. So a big snap, but well saved, and not too much gravel on the racing line there.
This is Hamilton getting bogged down behind the Williams. Go through the first chicane. That looks like Alex Albon to his left, and Lewis like, oh mate, what are you doing?
And you know what? I feel like, oh, there's a car off.
There's a car in the gravel. And
Antonelli.
It is Kimi Antonelli.
Oh.
Not another beach moment for Kimi Antonelli, hot on the heels of Zandvoort and the practice session there. This looks like Kimi Antonelli is out of FP2.
Hey, Kimi, okay? Beast.
Oh, Kimi Antonelli. That is desperate luck for a man who finished 5th in FP1 earlier today, and who admits himself he's under pressure coming into his second home race of the season, where he's adjusted what he does off the track to give him energy when he's on the track, and he's come off there at the second of the Lesmo corners and managed to get the car spun round and beat. So let's have a little look on board.
So he turns in, and the rear car started to snap around very early.
Very early.
Yeah, it was even before the apex, isn't it? The rear of the car came around a bit odd. We don't often see people lose the rear that early on. I don't know. I'd like to see it from the onboard view to see if he was slightly offline or something like that, because it was very early he lost it.
Sorry about that.
Starting to sound a little bit like deja vu from last week, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being beach.
Was he on the hard tyre last week when he went off as well? I think he might well have been. And I don't know if it's, tyres a bit too cold, not gripping up for him or not.
Well, he's done a few, and he's done a personal best, Sector 1.
Right.
And quicker than George Russell Sector 1, so I don't think that's the reason. I think it's a shame because his FP1, I sort of came away from that session thinking that's exactly what he needs. A clean session, just build it up, and he had a few lockups, didn't he? But on the whole, it was relatively clean. And for a kid who's openly admitted he's down on confidence and is struggling, he needs clean sessions.
Exactly. He's not got the experience now to be able to have a session like this and come back in FP3 and it's like it's never happened. He kind of needs still, we saw that in Zandvoort, he needs the whole weekend to kind of still go according to plan to basically be able to build and take experience and make steps. Mistakes like this make that really, really difficult.
And he admitted after the accident in Zandvoort last week, he really struggled to recover and to come back and give it his best in the race. And we all know what happened in the race as well. A 15-second penalty in the end, which took him out of the points. Maybe Lewis Hamilton, and he talked quite a lot. That advice from Lewis Hamilton of never give up. Is exactly what Lewis will be saying to Kimi later on tonight, the driver's briefing, because I'm sure it'll help him out and give him that little shoulder.
Absolutely, never give up. And I think I thought it was Isaac Hadjar was going to say something similar from the beginning of the year, and you look at where he is now. But the situation for Kimi is tricky because he's also got to show glimpses of something. It doesn't work just constantly being behind George either. He has to show at least glimpses of raw natural speed, which is, albeit didn't end in a good position, but last year what was exciting in that FP1 session, he was setting the timing screens alight, and there's something exciting about that. Now we're not getting this exciting sort of flashes of speed or obviously the consistency of results, so it's kind of trying to manage from his point of view how he can actually put a weekend together.
Right, so there you go, red flag, and we are not long into this session. Kimi Antonelli is out, and whilst he's under pressure, I think Toto Wolff also under pressure there as to what's happened. Once again, to the driver he's put all his faith in.
It's my first time camping. Which one's better?
It's sunny now, but drizzling later, so the light jacket is perfect.
Cool. What about hats?
That bucket hat is much better for shade, and it goes with your jacket.
Great. And for Milo?
A matching hat would be adorable.
Come here, Milo.
Yeah, the labs are about to take on an unforgettable adventure. They'll follow ancient trade routes, explore lost kingdoms.
The Amazing Race, Saturday, Monday on 10. This is the story of how a family escaped their pricey telco. It begins with a man trying a Mason and getting a mobile plan for just $15 with a massive 80 gigs of data for his first renewal. Then he told his wife, who was gobsmacked she could also get a great deal on home internet. Then he told his parents, who were thrilled they could upgrade to phones made this century. Then he told the kids. They already knew and had cracked the Wi-Fi password. And now we've told you. So escape your pricey telco with a Mason.
Amazing!
Hungry Jack's Angus Grillmaster's new barbecue smokehouse. Our thick, juicy, flame-grilled Aussie beef, bacon, smoky barbecue sauce and crispy onions. Angus Grillmaster's barbecue smokehouse. The burgers are better at Hungry Jack's.
Hi, how can I help you?
Burger, fries, and a milkshake.
Yeah, thank you. Would there be anything else?
Thanks, mate!
love going deep online, but you're not in on the deepest dive. The AFL. 160 years of good stuff. If you are in on it, you know Collingwood hates Carlton, but everyone loves Collingwood. You know about Locks of Honour, the Harris Kids, and how we invited the Irish. If you were in on it, you'd cheer especially with your normal mates, and then be new mates with old mates. With sick clothes and divine oaths and heaps more, it's the AFL, Aussie Rules Footy, the national game with a national backstory, and it's time to get in on it.
Cars at Raw, your thing? Search eBay, Australia's #1 online auto parts and accessories marketplace.
Tyrone Munro, that is run to Sabre.
Look at you go.
Me?
Yeah, you. Starting early,
Finishing late.
oi, to the mini businesses doing mighty things. Living the grind.
Nice.
Thank you. And always hustling. But is your bank helping you get ahead? AMP Bank Go is the app made for all kinds of small businesses. Earn Qantas points on your transaction account and pay 0 monthly fees.
Hell yeah.
AMP Bank Go, taking care of mini business.
This program brought to you by American Express. Access more with Amex. Shannon's. Insurance for motoring enthusiasts. And Barilla.
So we have the green light once again, and the cars are filing out bit by bit onto the racetrack. Peter Beyer, the CEO of Racing Bulls.
And talking to Jim Farley, the boss of Ford, who is obviously going to be supplying a part of the powertrain with Red Bull powertrains in the back of the Racing Bulls and the Red Bull for next year.
And Jim Farley, who I think is allowed to go and do hot laps around Monza this week as well. I mean, honestly, I'd swap places with him just for a week, do his job, he'd come do mine, I'll do his job if I can get out of Monza and do a few hot laps.
Oh, but you know what? He takes his driving very seriously. You know, he goes to do driver coach days with Rob Wilson up in the UK. He goes up to, you know, racetracks like Hector and Bruntingthorpe, you know, airfields to go and improve his driving skills. And he's racing at Goodwood in the Revival next weekend as well.
Is he racing against you?
I don't think so. I don't know, there's a whole lot of races. I don't know which ones he's in. But
I
he
raced
is
him
there.
last year in the Mustang.
Yeah, he's
and
a
he
good
held his
driver.
own, he is.
He's a good driver.
It's all right coaching, you see. Oscar Piastri's been noted for failing to follow race director's instructions. I wonder if he came out of the garage before the FIA said the session will resume. You're not allowed, when there's a red flag, you get an indication as to when the session's going to resume. And I think Oscar Piastri might have come out before then. He said he didn't go past the green lights.
Yeah.
I saw him trundling down the pit lane on that one, but there was a bit of confusion because they actually took the red flag off the displays and it went green. So that might have been part of the confusion then. Try and tidy that up a little bit later. Charles Leclerc is on a lap. We've had a red flag. I'm surprised that gravel at Lesmo 2 didn't get swept away, to be honest. There was time to do it, but maybe it's off the racing line. Charles Leclerc is up through the first two sectors. We can see Carlos Sainz, his teammate last year.
You know what, Coffee? When he came up the hill to as far as you can, he braked, you could see the front of the floor just come off the ground. And that's I'd like to see a bit more of that, and maybe just for people to understand. We talk so much, haven't we, about the floor and the plank of the Ferrari being into the ground and the end of the straight. And you get a bit of an illustration there of just how it comes up when the downforce comes off and the speed comes down.
I did actually get a quick word with someone at Ferrari after the session. I went, good? They went, I went, okay.
That's great in
paraphrasing.
motorsport language.
I said, well, come on. You know the competitors, as Verstappen now goes fastest. You know what everyone else was doing. And they went, yeah, it was so-so. Check the floor, says Bortoleto, I think, put over in doing so. And that's good. That's cautious optimism, I think.
Absolutely. I think if they turn the engine modes up, everyone will see it. They know everyone will see it. They'll see it. So they'll manage expectations on that side of things. But still, it's nice to see them up at the front.
The theory for Ferrari and Hamilton's on a flying lap is he goes fourth fastest and we watch Gabriel Bortoleto, and that's why he wants the floor checking.
And if you listen to that, you can hear the floor. Oof, that's the worst place because he's fully straddled where that sharp edge is on the end of that curve. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of floor damage there.
Oscar Piastri, meanwhile, approaching the Lesmo corner in the second one, and he's not gone as far, but still, what's that? half straddled, and still pretty straddled. A lot of straddling going on.
I'm not getting involved in this chat.
After last week, there's the incident involving Oscar Piastri failing to follow race director's instructions investigated after the session. Portoletto has been noted for a yellow flag infringement. Alex Albon, now the third most experienced driver for Williams, which seems incredible in the long history of that team, that he is the third most experienced driver.
It does, it kind of comes a little bit back to what we're talking about with Kimi going to Williams. I think Williams really are trying to take themselves away from ever being seen as being a junior team to any other team. They want to be a team in their own right, ultimately winning world championships in the future. So for that to happen, they need to keep, especially the talent that they have, and they've got two experienced great drivers. And Alex is doing an incredible job this year, getting a lot of points for that team.
I saw James Vowles yesterday. I said, how's life? He said, not bad, not bad. I think we're slowly getting there. I think we're actually getting there. We're good. You can take a day off now. Well, I'm not getting there that quickly.
I don't think he'll ever take a day off.
And that's what you've got to be. As a team principal these days, you've got to put the graft in to turn things around is an understatement of Williams. He's ripped up the playbook from years gone by and very much doing things in his own way and reaping the rewards. Right, Fernando Alonso now. The most experienced driver on the grid this weekend. Go through the first chicane, take us through the rest of the run.
Yeah, let's see as he accelerates up through the Curva Grande, former double winner here, isn't he? For McLaren and for Ferrari. 1 year in his first appearance for Ferrari, which firmly, welded him into the heart of the Tifosi at that stage. Through the second chicane, the Variante Rocha chicane. Pretty nice run through there, but it does look like he's a bit down on this lap. Maybe the tyres have seen better days at this point. Let's see how many laps he's done on this set of tyres. Fernando Alonso, yeah, he's done a few laps. I think he's on his fourth push lap now. Underneath the backing, but here they're looking for the braking point. Now watch his curb usage here on the left. Aggressive turning as is typical of Fernando. He really does just dominate the car and pull it into position, but in a very controlled way. He might pick up a distant tow from his countryman Carlos Sainz into Parabolica. A little bit slower to pick up the throttle, so which suggests to me that either the tyres have gone past their best or maybe still a little bit of fuel on board. But in contrast to how early Lewis was on throttle when he went on board earlier, that tells you what's going on here.
And Jim Farley still very much looking intently at what is going on. By the way, in Baku, Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso will between them reach 600 Grand Prix starts.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
It's quite an experienced lineup at Aston Martin. On board now with Alex Albon. Oh, hello.
And you got just take the floor. Yeah, coffee will do.
Why are so many drivers going so wide at that second Lesmo exit?
It's actually quite blind. When you enter that corner and you pick up the power, in that instance, Alex had a huge amount of understeer mid to exit, and that's why also when he picked up the power on the gravel, unlike the others that kind of just skirt the gravel, he had the big snap of oversteer, which he held very nicely. But it is actually quite blind, so you are kind of guessing a little bit on power, hoping to get to power a little bit earlier than you can see the exit, which often causes that wide movement.
That's Lando Norris backing off, and as he does so, that allows Max Verstappen to pick up a little toe as he starts his latest lap. Carlos Sainz is another completing a lap here, and he goes quickest by just over 1/10 of a second from his former Toro Rosso teammate Max Verstappen, and we can head down to 10.
Just talk about Lando Norris. I want to update you just on a little swap that they did before this run, and then they went back on it. They put the new front wing, which is designed to work with the lower downforce rear wing that they've got here, the new one, McLaren, and they put the lower downforce, lower drag front wing on. But then they had a change of mind, Crofty, and put the old one with the flap, with the longer section at the top, not the cutaway section. They put that back on. So yeah, an interesting little change of mind as they're still searching for the perfect setup. It doesn't look so bad so far. I'm just keeping an eye on whether anyone is trimming out rear wings as the race weekend goes on. Does the Ferrari look a bit slimmer on the rear wing to you, Karun, compared to first practice?
It's quite hard to tell, Ted, but
Well,
judging by
I'll tell you
the
what,
straight line speed on the speed traps, they are all comparable. Verstappen 340 on their best laps.
Yeah.
Verstappen 340, Hamilton 340, Leclerc 340. It's Carlos Sainz actually 337 on that lap, so maybe carrying a bit more downforce for a change.
In miles an hour, 337?
Kilometers. Oh, in miles an hour, that is 211 maybe even, or 210.5, 210.5.
When did you turn into a maths genius?
Well, 200 is 320.
It's impressive, is what it is. Soft tyres are on for Franco Colapinto as he hurtles towards the Parabolica. Waiting for him is Martin Brundle.
I have indeed got a wonderful spot here as he comes through the corner, doing the wall of death through the outside. This is a corner where you do the turning on the way in, a minimum speed about 125 miles an hour, and then let the car breathe towards the outside. But you've got to keep turning without taking any energy out of the tyres and scrubbing any speed off into that super long pit straight. It's all got very quiet out there momentarily, but you can see how when they make a mistake, they come and hit the wall down in here, just in front of us. There's not an awful lot of runoff here, never has been, into this corner, considering they're turning up at a long way north of 200 miles an hour. Quite a small gravel trap as well for them to go into. So an incident or a problem here, the car swaps ends on you later on, or you trip over somebody as you come into the corner trying to make an overtake, and you'll soon be in this barrier here. It's really, we're in amongst the trees. It's so old school, and these tyres there that they look like a bunch of scrap tyres, but actually they're put together in a very specific way. They're bolted together, they're linked together with a metal rope as well. So, and then the conveyor belt in front of that to arrest the cars. I can see as they come into my field of vision, sometimes they've got a bit of understeer, just as we saw there with Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull. I can just see the front axle where they've got a little bit of scrub, a bit of steering angle on. You can see the side wall of the tyre just trying to tuck under a little bit. Such is the incredible energy of turning into a corner well over long way over 100 miles an hour as the McLaren of Lando Norris comes through. That lovely seamless shift on the gearbox. So as soon as you get into that early apex and you're under control, and well, we used to be happy to be pointing in the right direction in the right gear at that point back in the day. You're back on the throttle. You're absolutely hounding the car all the way through the outside. So you've done your work on the way in. You then almost sort of duck your head down, try to press the throttle past its stop. So you want to get to the timing beam down the pit straight as well. Or indeed, if you're tucking into the pit lane, you release off this corner so fast that the pit entry looks like a little tiny matchbox that you're aiming for before you have to slow down for the speed limit. Such is the release speed off this corner. Only 11 turns around here, but they all count. They all matter. None more so than the legendary Parabolica.
Thanks ever so much, Martin. Lando Norris goes fastest through the middle sector. Carlos Sainz on a decent lap with a 26.6 in the first sector, and he's a 10th and a bit up. So we can compare these two times. Bortoletto is going to be investigated after the session for that yellow flag infringement. Sainz, who has already got the fastest time, might be about to extend that unless Lando Norris can go a little bit faster, and does so with a 1:19.80, 7/10 up on Sainz, who you can see in the distance, and he will pick up a toe, but not by enough. 4/10 down by the end of the lap.
So Norris across the line, 3.35. I wonder if they've started to put a bit of downforce on there. You're right, Sainz picked up a distant toe, 6k quicker than Lando, and 6k quicker than his previous best. And Nico Hülkenberg pops up, second fastest time there, with the Ferrari power unit, of course, at the back of that Sauber.
Absolutely. Last week I was having a chat in the paddock about practice sessions and trying to find a form book, because Karina and I at times were getting very confused in Zandvoort, and the person I was talking to, who knows an awful lot, was saying, it's Gabriel Bortoletto, you see the flashing panel.
He's overtaken on the yellow. There's a panel on the left.
But the car to his right was going very, very slowly. There's Antonelli in his stranded Mercedes on the left-hand side.
Yeah, but unlike Charles Leclerc in FP1, Bortoletto, I think, had time. I'd like to say it again, but I think he had time to slow down and stay behind that car. Unlike in Leclerc's case in FP1, where I think it was just too close to the red flag.
Is that a double wave yellow or a
it was
single wave?
A single, and then I think a double at the second Lesmo, wasn't it?
Right.
The rule is the same though, no overtaking under yellows.
His defence will be, come on, the car to my right-hand side was going so slow, he may or may not have had a problem as Albon goes second fastest and Bortoletto now goes fifth fastest. But if they have found him guilty of that infringement, that could be a grid penalty.
Exactly. There had to be a bit of common sense with it. In that instance, I have to say it again, as Bruin said. Did he have time to slow? I think he probably did, but the car was so far to the right. How does he avoid that situation is what you need to look at.
Ocon and Behrman 6th and 8th of 4 Haas. Leclerc is 3/10 down and 9th. Go back to that paddock chat. Trying to find a form book in a practice session, getting ever more difficult because the cars are so close together, or more close together. They play around with engine modes. Hamilton goes quickest through the first sector, and often it's not until qualifying, when they're all on the same mode and they've all got their setups the way they want it, that picture can then emerge. Over the line goes Charles Leclerc, only 5th fastest. So behind Sainz, behind Hülkenberg, behind Albon and behind Norris. And if he keeps on going like this, behind his teammate Lewis Hamilton as well.
We've seen it on many occasions this year where McLaren look always dominant and they get picked to pole, as we see Lewis going to this car chicane. Doesn't look like he's firing loads of speed into there, but he's up in the middle sector.
Is that a bit cautious through Ascari?
Well, I wonder about, you know, we talk about downforce levels. Are they running less? So they're quick in sectors 1 and 3, and then losing out a little bit in the middle sector. You need a little bit of downforce for the second chicane and the Lesmos.
And that could be set up for Lewis to get some overtaking done, which of course he's got to do, because he's got that 5-place grid penalty. Goes second fastest behind Lando Norris, 2/10 down. We've got the stopwatch on George Russell and Oscar Piastri, who's making his way towards the Ascari chicane. He's 3.5 down on this lap.
Yeah, no grief at all. Thank you, Zero.
Russell goes 6th fastest. Track temperatures come down a bit to 38 degrees. Why is Charles Leclerc struggling for grip? Maybe he hasn't got the downforce setup that he would like through the Parabolica. Neat and tidy from Oscar Piastri. Has he got the pace though? Goes only 7th fastest, nearly half a second off the pace.
Yeah, 3/10 of that was the middle sector to Lando. So, yeah, I don't know. Some of it is he's missed out some learning from FP1. Obviously, he didn't run the soft tyre there. It does seem like the switch to the soft tyre and the balance shift is affecting drivers. We saw Lando make a mistake on a couple of sets this weekend already. But yeah, it's a bit unusual, isn't it, to see Oscar. You know, we know he likes peaking at the right time and waits to Q3 to fully show his hand. But even so, we're used to seeing it being maybe, I don't know, 10.5 or 2/10, not 4.5.
He's leaving a bit on the table as well. Exit Parabolica, there was quite a bit of margin. I think building up to it, knowing when he needs to attack is maybe something, but this track is so close. There's such small margins. Come qualifying, every little whisper and every little detail is going to make a difference. So I think taking the most of the learning now is going to be very important.
Max Verstappen had set off on a fast lap. He's backed off during the middle sector. I think he's got another cool lap to go, and then we'll see a flying lap from him. Best lap so far on a medium tyre for Max, who hasn't gone fastest in Q3 here. So 2021 was the last time he had the fastest time in Q3. Carlos Sainz is putting in another decent lap. Suggests lowish deg, even on the C5 tyre.
He's been flying all weekend. It's interesting listening to him in the press conference actually talk about why he likes this pace. And when all that downforce comes off these cars, it does make them a little bit more lively. They're not quite as stuck to the ground as we usually see. And he seems to like that. He seems to like the car moving around. I don't know whether that's come from his dad, and he just misses out on pipping Norris there going P2. But yeah, whether he likes that kind of car moving around because he's grown up a little bit with his dad in mind with the off-road side of things, I'm not sure.
The 219th different driver to feature on the Formula One podium is Isaac Hadjar, ladies and gentlemen, and the third maiden podium finisher in this 2025 season. He goes 12th fastest in the Racing Bulls. I don't think they got their setup right in FP1 today. He didn't seem particularly happy with that. Meanwhile, here's Yuki Tsunoda, who will be compared against Isaac Hadjar, and Hadjar will be compared against him because we still don't quite know who's going to get the second seat at the Red Bull team for next season. And Tsunoda, I dare say, needs a little bit more of that. 6th fastest for him, about 3 and a bit tenths off the pace, or just under 4 tenths off the pace. I'm looking to see where Tsunoda's teammate Max Verstappen is.
I was going to say, I think he abandoned the lap. I saw him do a good first sector and not finish it, and I think we're about to see why.
Car really jumpy. It's really nervous at every little bump.
Is it a bumpy track?
Well, they resurfaced it. They spend millions resurfacing it recently.
Not in comparison to other tracks, but in a Formula One car now, they're so sensitive to these bumps. That's very obviously
cleaning away.
Oh, come on. Unbelievable. Every time.
There's Albon.
Oh, apologies to Alpine. It looked like an Alpine in front. I got the first 2 letters right.
But I reckon that's about the 4th or 5th time we've seen a Williams in the way of somebody. They've got something's going on there with the communication between the pit wall and the car.
100%, and I know we spoke about it in FP1 where we were talking about, you know, drivers should just use their mirrors, but it isn't as simple as that, and they are very reliant on the pit wall and the team, so maybe they're just not getting the information to them quick enough, or it's not being fed to the drivers in a way that they're able to process and then actually act on.
I will bet you £0 in my pocket to go have this conversation with Jacques Villeneuve and tell him that.
Oh yeah, I'd film that.
Great content that would be.
Yeah. Is it right here? Radio issues? Who knows? On a flyer, Gabriel Bortoletto currently. On a flyer, Max Verstappen, but maybe still a few tenths down. And Alex Albon asking for his team to check the floor as he goes over the curbs once again. We're not watching him. We've got Bortoletto and Verstappen on flyers currently. Verstappen is just ahead of the Brazilian who he goes sim racing against, and when you see them on track, they have some decent battles as well, you know, for real rather than just in the sim. Verstappen finishes his lap, goes 4th fastest. Bortoletto 11th fastest.
That's not bad for Yuki, is it? 2 tenths off Verstappen. That's where they want him to be. You know, they're not expecting him to beat Max, but they want him to be within a quarter of a second of Max, and you know, I think, that is a lot better. So, let's have a look. I'm pretty sure, Croppy, I saw Piastri starting another lap with DRS open down the start-finish straight.
You did. Keep an eye on that whilst we go to the Sauber pit wall. Jonathan Wheatley, team principal, welcome for your first weekend as our friendly pit boss for the day. And 6th fastest for Nico Hulkenberg. Some pace for you out there, sir.
Yeah, it looks like Nico's got his eye in. Gabriel's just trying a few different things, trying a few different braking areas and what have you. He just came in for a flat adjust, and I think he was a little bit too close to Max that lap.
Is that a normal thing that the rookie tries to experiment a bit more and the guy with more experience just goes out there and bangs in a lap?
I don't know. I mean, if you look at Gabriel's career, he won his Formula 3 championship here. He won the race from P22 last year in Formula 2. I think he knows what he's doing around here, Crofty.
Yeah, there is that.
We saw there's an investigation for Gabby for things on the yellow flags. Is that something you guys have looked at? Or are you going to look at that after the session?
Oh, we had a quick look at it, and yeah, we'll go and see what the stewards make of it. I think it's explainable, but then I would.
And do you go up with them, or do you delegate that to someone else these days?
I'm very glad that I don't have to make that long walk anymore.
Jonathan, just looking at the form guide, obviously at the moment you've got both cars in the top 11. How competitive do you think you are? Do you think you can carry this into tomorrow and fight for Q3?
I think we need to do our competitor analysis tonight. We need to have a look at where we are really relative to the competitors. But frankly, we've had a nice clean run through today so far. We've got through the programme, and at the moment...
a good point you make about competitor. You know, do you know now at this stage of the season, certain teams push hard over the engines on a Friday or run lower fuel? Have you got a form guide in terms of, you know, your immediate competitors?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the espionage, if you like, or the amount of time we spend looking into what our competitors do. So you can try trying to benchmark yourself through the event as you come up. And you're right, we look at engine modes, we look at where cars are fast, where they're not, and it gets into a bit of a pattern. I think the other thing is you start to understand a little bit more the relative competitiveness of the cars around you, depending on the circuits you go to.
It's fascinating. Jonathan will come and see you later and you can tell us that form book. Thanks ever so much for the time being, though.
Thank you.
He didn't say no. I like that. Ted, down to you.
Just quickly at Alpine, Pierre Gasly did some damage to the front. And there isn't anything on a Formula One car, Crofty, that can't be fixed with a bit of silver speed tape. And can you see the bib, the T-tray at the front of the floor? The mechanics have just been on their backs, on the floor, just taping up the damage to that front section of Gasly's floor. But you can see he's out again on the medium tyres, going for another run.
And with 19 minutes to go in this session, it's Lando Norris, pole sitter last year, who is fastest from Charles Leclerc, separated by 83 milliseconds. Carlos Sainz in third.
This KO Sports Stream brought to you by Glenfiddich, official partner of the Aston Martin Formula One team.
This article has too many options. What's a good local dessert when it's hot? Bingsu. It's a popular shaved ice dessert in Korea. Please find us the nearest place.
You could say a lot about life at sea, but the stories worth telling aren't always the biggest. You don't have to mention exotic locations or fill the air with suspense. No matter how extraordinary the scene, sometimes the greatest stories, they come from the smallest moments.
This is the story of how a family escaped their pricey telco. It begins with a man trying a Mason and getting a mobile plan for just $15 with a massive 80 gigs of data for his first renewal. Then he told his wife, who was gobsmacked she could also get a great deal on home internet. Then he told his parents, who were thrilled they could upgrade to phones made this century. Then he told the kids. They already knew and had cracked the Wi-Fi password. And now we've told you. So escape your pricey telco with a Mason.
Amazing! Here's the story. You love going deep online, but you're not in on the deepest dive. The AFL. 160 years of the good stuff. If you were in on it, you'd know that Collingwood hates Carlton, but everyone loves Collingwood. You know about Locks of Honour, the Harris Kick, and how he invited the Irish. If you were in on it, you'd cheer especially with your normal mates, and then be new mates with old mates. With Six Crows and Divine Oaks and heaps more, it's the AFL. Aussie Rules Footy, the national game with a national backstory, and it's time to get in on it.
Burger, fries, and a milkshake.
Yeah, thanks, Gerald. Would there be anything else?
Thanks, mate!
Toyota.
Minutes to go here in Monza. We are watching Ollie Bearman on the track currently. One of four drivers who made up a huge amount of places in Zandvoort. For Ollie Bearman, it was to a sixth place from the pit lane, his best ever finish in Formula One. The other drivers in Zandvoort, Stroll 7th from 19, Ocon 10th from 18th, and Albon 5th from 15th. Great first lap, wasn't it, from Alex Albon? But for Ollie Bearman, once again, the safety car came at the right time, but his long stint on the hard tyre to go as long as he did, super.
Yeah, listen, without that safety car, they would have ended up 14th and 15th, Ocon and Devon. They rolled the dice, same as Stroll, right?
Yeah.
Stroll went, I think, for the lap 11 pit stop, super early. They rolled the dice, safety car came at the right time. It worked out for them. I think, fundamentally in Formula One today, qualifying is still super important. And the gaps are so tight. You in a normal race, without a safety car,
You can have the best strategy in the world, but there's still a little bit of luck involved, and things can turn around. And I'm sure Gabriel Bortoletto's mum and dad had a great time here watching their son this weekend. Well, that's twitchy from George Russell going through the exit of turn 7, the second Lesmo. Hydraulics issue, by the way. I haven't had a chance to tell you that yet for George, which left him stranded in FP1. Wasn't that with you?
pretty sure that's not Bortoletto's dad. That is that is the manager of. That was a man who.
Well, it said family, so I assume.
I don't know who the lady is, but the gentleman is runs one of the most historic hotels in over here, the Fossati.
Oh really? Fair enough. So it's not Gabriel Bortoletto's family.
It's not his father.
Right, okay, fine.
As I said, it's not his mum. It's not his
used
dad.
to stay there, and I think Bernie Eccleston as well.
Yeah, he's
good hotel knowledge.
Yeah, it's a cool place. You should see it.
Can I afford it?
Yeah. You're an incredibly rich man.
On a race weekend?
You are an incredibly rich man, David Croft. We all know this.
How was your room last night?
How was my room last night? Well, right next door to you, and I didn't hear the snoring through the walls, so that's a bonus. The soundproofing's good. It's good.
Our hotel receptionist proudly announced to Karina and I, as we checked in last night, that we had the brand new refurbished rooms, and nobody had stayed in there ever before. We were the first people to stay in there.
And then they said you're right next to him.
Which took the gloss off Karina's
It still smell a bit like wet paint.
Yes. A lot.
Yeah, but the soundproofing's good, so that's the main thing. I can't hear his heavy metal music or the snoring. So
George Russell, meanwhile, travelling with his own pillow, and I think mattress as well these days, so he gets a really good night's sleep. Is currently 10th fastest overall. It's a little bit down, I think, on where Mercedes would expect to be come the end of qualifying tomorrow. George Russell, who in the past here has managed a front row back in 2022, third on the grid last year, and the hard tyre run at the moment, and while we watch him through the Parabolica, is 10.
Thank you, Crofty. Yes, quite a few people on the hard tyre to see what that does in the race run. Just seeing Lewis Hamilton leave the pit lane on the hard tyre as well, so we'll see how that does in the race run. Now we've got this moment, Crofty, can we talk a little bit more about Yuki Tsunoda?
Yeah, of course we can.
We've had a news line come out since the team boss's press conference. Talk about Drive to Survive. It's emerged that Yuki is really under some intense pressure, not only to stay a Red Bull Racing driver, I think we all knew that, that's self-evident and obvious, but actually to stay a Red Bull driver at all, whether he goes back to Racing Bulls. I asked Laurent Mekies, the boss, about it, gave him 2 chances to confirm that if Yuki was subbed and Hadjar came in as Max Verstappen's teammate, either towards the end of this year or for 2026, that would Yuki drop down to Racing Bulls, and on neither of those opportunities could Mekies say yes he will. He refused to, couldn't confirm that. So, well, should we have a listen to it and you can make your own mind up?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, let's see. Will Isaac Hadjar be a Red Bull Racing driver in 2026?
You know, we made no secret. We have time. We feel we have time to take the decisions. We don't think anything is pressing us. We have seen, obviously, we are looking with a great smile Isaac's progress. I think it's been outstanding. But we are equally seeing, Yuki being able to do a significant step forward in the last 3 races. We have all the cards on our side, so no need to rush for us.
Okay, and would Yuki Tsunoda stay in the Red Bull Racing driver pool?
Again,
in the Red Bull driver pool.
We don't really have to take that decisions now. Really, we have the luxury to be able to look at how our drivers are going to evolve in the next few races. You may not want to wait the last race, fair enough, but we have the luxury to see how they are going to evolve. It's as we have said, Isaac has now been doing a very big step forward. We see a step forward for Yuki. We decide on 3 weeks.
Sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. Will Yuki stay in the Red Bull pool?
No,
Racing Bulls.
You have been clear, but we don't have to take that decision now.
Okay, so you can't say that he will stay in.
There is no, the evaluation of, if you talk about the two teams at first, I can only talk about Oracle Red Bull Racing. But I'm quite confident that for both teams, why would you make a decision now in a way or another? So we have the cards. We'll give our drivers in both teams quite a few more races to show what they can show to us.
For a yes or no answer. Lauren Mekis was not in a position to give you a yes or no answer. I think the reason he gave was a solid reason, but I'm with you. That is hardly a ringing endorsement that Yuki Tsunoda will be part of the stable for next year.
It's deeply concerning if you're a supporter of Yuki and think that he's been, dealt the hand that no one wants, which is being Max Verstappen's teammate in a car that's not easy to drive.
Yeah.
And the proof is, how many times have we said that it's the car and it's not the driver? And Lawson is doing well now, going back down to Racing Bulls. Hadjar clearly is a man on the rise, and F1's. I think we're all thinking that he's probably going to be in the Red Bull Racing driver's seat alongside Verstappen next year. But that doesn't mean you have to kick Yuki out completely.
No, it doesn't. But the thing is, Racing Bulls are there to bring the young talent through. And if you've got Arvid Lindblad, who is now in possession of a super license, Charles Leclerc off-roading there through the Ascari chicane. That is not what he wants to be doing, and it completely got away from him. Just to finish that sentence, Arvid Lindblad can come in as a rookie, one for the future. That will be harsh on Yuki, I know, but that might be what the Racing Bulls team is there to do. It's a really, really good debating point, though, and you would feel very sorry for Yuki if this was his last season with the team. Jamie, talk us through this.
Coming into the Ascari chicane, I'm going to predict he has a snap mid-corner. Oh, no, big lock-up. That's surprising, actually. I've not seen anyone really have lock-ups there. That front left, usually, not a corner that you have lock-ups like that. But yeah, big lock-up, gets out of it early and straight lines it across to avoid any big issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not a corner you would actually want to find yourself with that under rotation of the front left.
No, not at all. It looked spectacular, and he actually took, I think, the safest route through there to keep the car as much as he could in a straight line. Lewis Hamilton was also saying he's experiencing hammer dropouts between the two Les mode corners. And on the exit, that wasn't exactly hooked up for him either.
No, but it started the entry. It was a bit like Antonelli's moment. It was before the apex.
For everyone else, I prefer the gravel.
Yeah, he's gone all over the gravel that has been kicked up and sucked over to off the racing line. So that won't help Max Verstappen's tyres much either.
The balance required here is actually quite tricky because you always are chasing rotation. You've either got understeer in the car and you're always chasing rotation, but that sort of tipping point over to what we saw with Kimi earlier in the session, then Lewis there, isn't much.
Look at the flow vids in the rear wing of that Williams. There's still running a lot of flow vids on that.
Just a theory here. Low downforce track. If you can get away with running as little downforce as possible, you're not going to be draggy. You're going to be competitive at Monza. But for years, we saw Sebastian Vettel do rather well here with a bit more downforce. In fact, he was slowest in the straight line and still going on to win. So you still need that downforce under braking through the parabolica. Our team's just running a little bit too less downforce because we are seeing a few cars struggle out there.
I think you have to remember Formula One's in a different place now to the years that you're referring to, because the cars are much draggier. The Vettel years you're talking about are...
It's the latest one, Lando Norris going on.
Piastri, isn't it?
That's Oscar Piastri, yeah, sorry.
The years you're talking about, the cars, let's remember, they were much smaller, narrower, the tyres were smaller, and therefore on a track like this, they were much less draggy inherently.
Right.
Now, the amount of drag created by the sheer size of the car, I think has forced people to take drag off as much as possible, and I think that's why the Vettel examples don't quite hold in this current era. It might be different next year when the cars are getting a bit smaller and you've got this sort of DRS all the way on the track and that sort of stuff. It might be, it's a whole different thing. But yeah, I think that's why you see this shift towards people, going this way.
That said, I think it'll be interesting to see how the tyres hold up, because last year, obviously, seeing McLaren grain their tyres, work their tyres, you add a bit of downforce and you can actually eliminate a lot of those issues. So, yeah, if tyre degradation is going to be an issue, then you're going to want to qualify and race a car that has a little bit more downforce on it.
I'm just wondering, overnight tonight, they'll do a lot of work in the sims. Paul Aaron, for instance, after taking part in the debrief after FP1, is flying back to Enstone to do the sim work tonight before flying back to Monza tomorrow to come and observe. But what they all decide, or a few of them decide, we might actually need a little bit more on that rear wing. We might need to put a bit more downforce on, even though the cars are a bit more draggy, as you say, than they used to be.
Maybe, but I think inherently, if you look at last year versus this year, the cars have gained performance, they've gained downforce. So the issues, we've got the same tyre allocation this year at Monza, unlike Zandvoort, where we were stepped down. And generally, they're all getting the tyres to last longer, aren't they? So last year, McLaren sort of they did it for a bit and they committed. They went for the 2-stop with Oscar. They asked Oscar, in fairness, and he made the call saying, "I think we should pit." Ferrari rolled the dice for the 1-stop and won. I think this year the fact that cars are going to have better downforce levels will push everyone to the 1-stop.
Jamie Chadwick, thank you very much. You need to go to the paddock. It has been a pleasure to see you once again up in the commentary box. Carlos Sainz, another that's been off and needs the floor check-in. It was a long time underneath the two Williams cars during the course of this session. I was going to talk about this earlier. We were riding on board with Oscar Piastri, and then something else happened. Last year's race, in terms of the McLaren potential 1-2, was decided when Oscar Piastri went steaming down the inside on Lando Norris, who managed to get past and surprise Lando going into that chicane. Now, that may well happen again here. It probably cost McLaren because it allowed Charles Leclerc to be in position and a place further ahead than he might not have been at that stage had the McLarens kept station. They can't take a 1-2 for granted, I think, this weekend. They can't take for granted also that Lando Norris won't try that on his teammate because they're free to race and he's got to go and give it everything.
And I hope they do, because that's great entertainment. That's what we're here for. I imagine it'll be quite. If they do end up next to each other on the grid, there'll be some strong conversations about papaya rules or McLaren rules and all that sort of stuff on lap 1, because they don't want to repeat of that. They were quite clear that they're happy to let the drivers race, but not to the detriment of the team position. And last year, quite clearly, the fact that Leclerc got in front was that example.
So Piastri through that Ascari chicane, following behind Liam Lawson in the Racing Bulls. Elsewhere, I just look at some of the times that are coming through. Piastri's in the mid to high 123s at the moment. His teammate Lando Norris has just put in a mid 123. Charles Leclerc 125.8. Leclerc on the soft tyre, Norris on the medium tyre, and Leclerc has run that soft tyre for 7 laps in this current stint. Yuki Tsunoda in the mid 124s. His teammate Max Verstappen just on a 124.7. Lewis Hamilton on the hard tyre currently has put in a 124.4 on his last lap, and this hard tyre is 8 laps old. And we're trying to crunch a few numbers and bring them to you at the start of FP3 tomorrow as the race pace and who looks particularly good out there. 40 seconds to go in this session before the checkered flag. Hulkenberg and Antonelli, the only 2 drivers not on track. Antonelli, after beaching his Mercedes after 4 laps of this session, another practice session where he's not really taken part to the extent that he would have wanted. Hamilton crosses the line with an impressive 123.6 on those hard tyres. And 10 seconds to go of this session. It has felt like a really tricky session at times for the drivers. The wind isn't much to worry about. The track temperature isn't excessively high, but going through some of the corners, certainly the second of the 2 Lesmos, just keeping the car on the curb or on the track has been quite a struggle. Norris, high-speed corners, fastest, low speed corners, 8th fastest, and on the straights, 6th fastest in terms of his car performance, but enough to combine together and give him the quickest time in this session from Charles Leclerc, who was second quickest as well in the first practice session earlier today. Checkered flag is out, so these laps will count, and they can do a practice start, then they can get into the briefing room. What are they all going to be saying in there, I wonder?
Well, Oscar Piastri's got to go take the stewards, first of all, for that potential breach of heading down pit lane.
That, I think, will be a fine, I would imagine, if he's found guilty, because I think they just released him from the garage too early before the race resumption. Gabriel Bortoleto, on the other hand, overtaking, oh dear, as the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc goes straight on there at the second chicane.
Yeah.
Bortoleto, on the other hand,
don't forget that Mercedes got a grid penalty, didn't they, for going down pit lane too early. But I think that was in qualifying, so I think they might be more lenient about what happens in practice. So we'll see.
I think the mitigating circumstance there will be where it didn't say red flag on the timing screens anymore, even though it hadn't said when the session was going to resume. Ali Ben is the latest to go on that second chicane. The mitigating circumstances, I think, for Gabriel Bortoleto will be the car to the right was going so slow. What could he have done?
Yeah,
he was on the racing line. You don't want to slam your brakes on.
Yeah. As I said, we only saw that once from on board. I'd like to see the Bortoleto one again because I think that's not as clear cut. I think the car, you're right, it was going slowly off the line, but I think they'll judge it and say, did you have enough time to slow down in a safe manner? With no, if somebody's right behind him and he jumps on the brakes, clearly that's dangerous.
Yeah.
They look at it and go, if there was no one behind him and he had time to slow down before overtaking, then you're in trouble. So we need to look into that. We don't. The stewards are looking into it.
Charles Leclerc has just come on the team radio and said the car is very difficult to drive. A lot of mistakes. It did look a handful at times.
It looked tricky with a high fuel, didn't it? I mean, clearly on low fuel, the car's quick. He's second fastest. Hamilton 5th, but only a 10th between them. So I think the car is quick on low fuel. In high fuel, we've seen him go off at Ascari twice, and it does look trickier to drive.
Won last year from 4th on the grid here, Charles Leclerc. It's the only circuit where he has multiple wins in his career. One of 6 drivers to take multiple Italian Grand Prix wins for Ferrari, along with Ascari, Phil Hill, Clay Regazzoni, Michael Schumacher, and Rubens Barrichello. Did he have third maybe this season? His teammate Lewis Hamilton with 5 wins, the joint record holder with Michael Schumacher for victories here in Monza. And the 2 Ferraris are going to line up maybe here for a practice start alongside each other on the grid. And that was Charles Leclerc just going past Hamilton.
It's a nice little photo op for the Ferrari fans. Yes, it's been very slowly though.
I think he's waiting for the cars to clear their grid spots before he slots into position. And he's going to put it somewhere at the front. There we go. How about pole? He's not going to get pole. He's not going to get pole unless a few others get grid penalties ahead of him. But let's have a little look at this practice start. Kind of listen to it.
Not too bad. A little bit of wind in the second phase of the start, but not too bad. Oh, he's practiced correctly from first chicane and gone straight on.
Yes, unlike in Zandvoort, where Max Verstappen went straight on, there isn't a gravel trap waiting for you there. You can actually make your way through the temporary bollards. Corinne, thank you very much.
And that is the end of FP2 for Formula 1. And Lando Norris tops hits for McLaren over Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. So McLaren still showing pace. Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri just outside the top 3. Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Alex Albon, Nico Hulkenberg, Yuki Tsunoda, and George Russell rounding out your 10. Oscar Piastri, first time so far in practice for a couple of rounds that he's been finishing outside the top 3 and not on that top 3 list, which is quite interesting indeed. Isaac Hadjar, Gabriel Bortoleto, Lance Stroll, Oliver Behrman, Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon, Liam Lawson, the New Zealander in P17, Pierre Gasly, Andrea Kim Antonelli, who ended up in the gravel early on in the session, and Franco Colapinto rounding out your top 20 cars for the Formula 1 grid here at the Italian Grand Prix. That is it for FP2. We've got FP3 coming up tomorrow from 8:30. From 8:30 tomorrow morning, followed by qualifying. So I'll see you guys then. Until then, goodbye.